We are live on Facebook and Zoom. Hey, Ann, so glad that you're calling in from the Bahamas. Yay! Hope everything's going well there. We actually had some bands of a hurricane come through here. It wasn't bad at all, just a lot of rain. I know you're hoping that another one doesn't come through there anytime soon. Okay, let's go live on Instagram here. Alrighty, welcome everyone to today's workshop. We're going to be talking all about healthy blood sugar balance and natural ways that we can manage that. So a little bit about me, if you're new here. My name is Carrie Cootie. I am a Christian, a wife, a mom, a pharmacist, an integrative health practitioner, and I just love talking about all the ways that we can really take control of our health and look to really aid our body in what it's already trying to do and just help it to do that better and really focus on resilience. I think that's what we're kind of all looking for in general, and just whatever comes our way, our body's sort of able to handle it. And leave the rest to God, right? We're not playing God here. We're just trying to be really good stewards of what he's given us. So today, again, I want to talk about healthy blood sugar balance because, to be really honest with you, it's not something that I've thought that much about until I went through a training that I recently completed, which was the Integrative Health Practitioner course, and it really opened my eyes to, even though I don't necessarily personally deal with diabetes, I haven't gotten that diagnosis yet, just unstable blood sugars and just these high spikes and low dips, those can really cause a lot of symptoms that we deal with that we have no idea could be caused from this. And it just really helps your overall health and your immunity in all systems for your blood sugar to be balanced in a healthy way. So that's really why I wanted to talk about that today in a little bit more depth. And I know some people maybe have gotten a diagnosis of diabetes or they're pre-diabetic, which so many in the US and all around the world have. It's really common, unfortunately. And so if you've already gotten that diagnosis, it's definitely not too late. That's really one of the things I'm passionate about, is if we just choose to stay stuck with whatever diagnosis we've gotten or whatever symptoms that we have, we're really selling ourselves way short, because we're selling our body short, because it's amazing, and it can be so much more resilient and really heal itself if we give it what it needs. And so that's really what I'm going to focus on today, is how we can aid our body in what it's already trying to do. And then we will reap some of the benefits of lowered symptoms and hopefully a reversal of that diagnosis. I feel very confident that if you were to really buckle down on some of these things, that you could completely reverse that diagnosis if you've already gotten that. So let's dive in. Please feel free to ask questions if you're on live. I'm so glad that you are. If you're on Facebook, however, I cannot see your comments. I've got things pulled up everywhere and I just can't see all the comments. So I will definitely try to check in, and then if I don't have a chance to, I'll go back and for sure answer any of those questions that you leave on there. Okay, so the reason why blood sugar balance is so important is that our body is always fighting for blood sugar balance. It's just always fighting for that, because it needs that sugar, that blood sugar, available for all the metabolic processes. Like, it really fuels every single metabolic process in our body, and lots of those in our brain. And so what are metabolic processes? I know that's something that, might be a little bit of a higher level term perhaps. So these are, I looked it up, so I'm gonna share with you what I found in detailed description. So it says a set of life-sustaining chemical reactions in organisms. The three main purposes are the conversion of food to energy to run cellular processes, the conversion of food to fuel or building blocks for proteins, lipids, things like that, and then the elimination of the metabolic waste, which anytime we eat, we have metabolic waste. So basically all the processes in your body. So let's just leave it at that. But that's why it's so important to your body that it has blood sugar available. But oftentimes we're not dealing with having too little sugar in the bloodstream. We're dealing with having too much in the bloodstream. And if you're continuing to eat a diet that's full of processed sugar, like that's going to spike it every single time. And so I'm going to kind of focus more, and I'm not going to focus heavily on diet in this workshop, but even some of the healthier foods, if eaten at too much at one time or not in balance with other things, will likely cause a higher spike than you want. So I am going to cover some of those things, and I'm going to send you to another resource that this gal spends a lot more time on these things than I do. So I love to send you to different people that's like their specialty, because they're much better at it than I am. So it's important to have balance when eating, of course, and so the right amount of fat, protein, etc. And we'll talk more about that in just a minute. But in general, a fasting blood sugar of 85 to 100 is what's best. But most people, see, the thing is, most people don't check their blood sugar, so they don't really know what it is. And so some of these symptoms that I'm going to read out, that is a really good sign that your blood sugar is probably too high or could be too low. So fasting of 85 to 100, so if you get it checked, that's what it should be. Anything over 100 is really considered pre-diabetic. And if you check your A1C, which is kind of a 3-month picture of your blood sugar, it should be 6 or below. Anything above 6 is considered pre-diabetic. So what are some of the ways that we can kind of know if our blood sugar is probably, most of these episodes are too high? You have a lot of hangry episodes, like you just get really hungry and you have those cravings. That's a good sign that that it's out of whack. You're not sleeping well at night. You might be waking up in the middle of the night and you just can't get a full night's rest. That could be due to stress, but it could also be due to the blood sugar imbalance. You're working out, but you can't lose weight. I hear this one a lot because you expect if you work out more, you should automatically lose weight, and it's just not that cut and dry. And this might be one reason why. And then brain fog. Brain fog is a big one for me. I can tell that I didn't know this what it was. I mean, it's just like an influx of inflammation is what I thought, but that comes with increased blood sugar, and we'll learn more about that in just a minute. But if I eat a meal that where it maybe hasn't been balanced, or maybe I just ate too much and it's spiking my blood sugar, I'll get sort of just it's not really a headache. It's just brain fog. I just can't really concentrate. My head is sort of just like a dull headache, I guess you could say. And I can definitely tell, like, all right, I overdid it in some different way, or something's not settling right. And I don't know about you, but I definitely don't like to feel that. So those are just some ways and symptoms that we can kind of really begin to listen to our body, because that's the whole thing with this. I mean, you can wear a continuous blood glucose monitor, you can check your blood sugar, but the fact is a lot of people are not going to do that. And so these are different ways that we can really check in with ourselves, which is the whole point of this, and to really be in tune with our body and what's going on, instead of just rushing through life and just eating everything and being stressed and have all these different things going on. And so our blood sugar is constantly going up and down, and we don't really check in with ourselves at all. So blood sugar balance is often at the root cause of a lot of different things, but two in particular that I hear a lot are hormone issues and thyroid issues, because those are based on metabolic processes in your body. When they get off, a lot of times your hormone and thyroid might be off. And so blood sugar is a really key component to that. And that's why I really love to test these on patients that come to me and want to get the functional labs completed. One in particular tests cortisol levels, and that's a really big indicator as far as what your blood sugar is doing. So knowing these things and having a clear picture is key. But a lot of times, though, when your hormones and thyroid is off, it could be due to blood sugar issues. So the thing is that I want you to understand is that we really have to deal with the issues that are causing the blood sugar imbalance. And a lot of times we think it only has to do with what we eat, but that's not always the case. There are two factors that I kind of want to focus more in on in this workshop that really go overlooked. And, like I said, blood sugar is really a critical issue for everyone, not just someone that has been diagnosed with diabetes. And that's kind of where it's went too far, right? It's went too far for too long, and you already have that diagnosis. And really healthy blood sugar is supposed to support a healthy lifestyle, right? I mean, an unstable blood sugar can exacerbate stress and anxiety. Those are things that we hear about all the time. I mean, 2020 has just been a doozy, right? But anxiety and stress is just something that seems to linger. And if you are feeling extra anxious, maybe every day or maybe some days rather than others, this might really be a link that you need to look more into. So let's think about really a holistic approach and what that could look like. And then I'm going to kind of go into the two different areas that I feel like are often overlooked. So a holistic approach. I'm definitely not one that is going to say, use this product and you'll be good. It just really can't be only one thing. I can't tell you to, use a certain essential oil or even eat a certain diet. We're all different. That's kind of the thing. There's no one size fits all approach really in anything health related. And so that's why it's really important to look at what's best for you and kind of really listen to your body and take more of a holistic approach. I think it's just really smart to do that. So 3 things that I kind of want to focus on is how can we use products and different lifestyle modifications to support a healthy insulin response and to manage our sugar cravings. And then how can we promote healthy inflammation and healthy stress management? Those are 2 areas that are often overlooked that cause a lot of blood sugar issues. And again, this is such a big deal. It just keeps on getting worse, it seems. But I looked up some statistics, and it's estimated that 20 to 30% have diabetes. They've already gotten that diagnosis, and then 40 to 50% have pre-diabetes. So it has a lot to do with our food supply, yes, but there are 2 different triggers that really could be behind a lot of the issues. And so let's dive in a little bit more to these and just some of the processes behind why these might be issues with your blood sugar and just your overall health in general, honestly. So the first one is inflammation. And so if you've ever heard of cortisol is something that it's a stress hormone, but it's something that we hear about a lot. We know, a lot of us know that cortisol, if we have increased cortisol, that means that we are stressed. That's our body's natural response. So let's look a little bit more about how that can trigger your blood sugar to be in excess. So when you release cortisol in your body, that is what's called the fight or flight hormone. And, our body is very smart and it wants to keep us alive. And so, our body is triggered to produce that cortisol and then to produce that increase in blood sugar because our body needs blood sugar for energy. And so if we're stressed, our mind doesn't really know if we're stressed because we're ready to fight something, or if we're just stressed because of the news article we just read, right? I mean, it doesn't know the difference. And so there's going to be that influx of blood sugar and that spike in blood sugar because our body needs to be ready to do whatever it needs to do, right? And so, that's kind of the really big problem now with stress and inflammation. They kind of go hand in hand. I'll show you that in just a minute, but there's just so much of a lack of movement and a stagnancy in us. We don't really move as much as we used to, even probably 30 years ago. And so that excess blood sugar it doesn't have anywhere to go. It's not getting burnt off. But back to inflammation. So cortisol is a cooling hormone as well. And so when we have inflammation, cortisol is released because it wants to kind of temper that response in our body. And so when our body is struggling with some sort of chronic issue, the body has excess inflammation. I mean, that can be caused from so many different things, but that whole cascade will cause an imbalance in blood sugar. So I want you to think about a cortisone shot. If you've ever, I've actually never personally had a cortisone shot, but if you've ever, had knee pain or injury or something like that, it's pretty common to get a cortisone shot. Well, cortisone is a synthetic form of cortisol. And so cortisol is our natural body's way of dealing with pain. As I mentioned before, it has a cooling effect and it helps to cool inflammation in our body. But if that inflammation doesn't go away and cortisol continues to remain high, that's what can cause an increase in blood sugar over time that can really have damaging effects to our body. So cortisol is meant to stimulate us into doing something. It's that fight or flight. We're meant to go fight something or run or whatever it might be. And so that's why it needs to have that blood sugar ready to go. So I just want you to realize how it just amazingly our body is made, and our body is made to survive. But the thing is, we're just in a time now that we've never been in. And like I said, just the lack of exercise and lack of movement coupled with the stress that we can feel really has a damaging effect on all of these things. So let's talk about and just kind of change gears just a minute to talk about stress. So stress and inflammation, that's two different triggers, but it's the same pathway. Stress also triggers an increase in cortisol, and it pumps it in our system so we can be in fight or be in flight. But when it's long-standing, our body is stress is not bad. I want you to know that, because it seems like we're always hearing stress. Stress is terrible for us. Stress is bad, and it is. But stress in short periods of time is actually good for our body. I mean, our body's meant to deal with stress, but there's meant to be a beginning and an end. Now there is no beginning. Well, sorry, there is a beginning, but there is no end. We just carry things with us throughout the day. We just are having more stressful days in general. It's just all of these different triggers. We're just having more stress, and it's for longer periods of time. And so that's really when it can cause grave issues with our blood sugar, because if you have stress that is short-lived, you're going to have an increase in cortisol, but then it's going to go back down. If you have stress that is just day after day after day, eventually your body is going to it's going to go down. So you're going to have very little cortisol, and that's where you can really get in that super burnout mode. And so it can cause a lot of issues with our metabolism and a lot of issues with our blood sugar. But something that we can do is just to breathe in deep. And just that just helps calm our body so much. We're going to talk about a little bit more about ways that we can support our body through these things, but that's just a really easy thing that we can do, and just be more mindful of it. It's so important to be more mindful of all this. And if you take nothing away from today, I hope that you take that away, to just be more mindful of what you're eating and how you're eating it, and also your inflammatory response and your stress levels. Because stress, like I said, is something that we're all going to deal with, but it just needs to have an end to it. So let's talk about some things that you can do to support your body. And just so that I try to keep these workshops to about 25 or 30 minutes. So I have about 10 to 15 minutes left. And I hope that you stay with me to learn more about how we can really balance our blood sugar naturally, and just be more mindful of the way that we listen to our body. So diet. Diet is something that could definitely be a whole class and a lot of classes. So I don't want to over inundate you with what you should be eating, what you should not be eating, but I want to just hopefully help you to realize that your diet should be balanced. And so many, diets that are very structured, which, if you're just doing that for a short period of time, it might not be that bad. But when we just, for a long period of time, just eliminate a whole food group, that's not really good. Our body needs all of a healthy mix of fiber and fats and proteins and carbs via fruits and vegetables and meats and things like that. So it's really, it needs to be a balance. But it's just something that sometimes we can get really off course, because we see this diet is great for this, or we want to lose weight, so we follow this diet, and they really eliminate a whole food group, and it's really not that good for our health long term. So I just want you to think about that. It's definitely not good for your blood sugar, because the thing is, your body's really innate and it will compensate, but over time it's just not good on your stress levels. It actually puts more stress on your body. Even though you maybe feel great and you are losing weight, it's just not a great way to live month after month, year after year. So I shared on social media, if you were following along with me, especially on Instagram, I shared an account, the Glucose Goddess. I'll have to tag her. I'll make sure that all this is linked in a blog post that I'm going to do. I'm sure she has a website as well, but she has some very insightful information on information on, when we eat various foods and in various combinations, what does it do to our blood sugar? And again, you'll notice on her profile, if you go check her out, that she wears a continuous glucose monitor, and that's how she gets all these readings. But I feel like that is a great thing, and I'm actually thinking about doing it as well. It's a great thing for us to do, just to see how our body responds to the various things that we eat, maybe various foods and the food combinations. She talks a lot about that, which is super insightful for me. I learned a lot as well, and I'm going to continue to follow her to learn more. But what I really got out of that information was that protein, fat, and fiber will blunt a high spike in blood sugar like nothing else. So just for instance, say if you're eating an apple, which is obviously a fruit, I mean, it's a healthy food, but if it's a large apple, or if you're just more sensitive to that, possibly everybody's different, it can spike your blood sugar. But pairing that with a nut butter, like almond butter or cashew butter or something like that, will actually blunt the blood spike to a very minimal one. So just things like that are really interesting. And honestly, before, this is a funny story, I just thought about it, so I'll share it. But before I knew any of this, and really before I definitely was not as healthy as I am now, but I mean, it was probably 3 or 4 years ago. So anytime I would go to a birthday party or, a gathering and they had a dessert, I would eat some. And so I would notice that if I would pair that with, like, if there was nuts, I would eat a few nuts with the cake, or if I was eating ice cream, I would put some nuts on top, something to get some fat and fiber and protein with it. I noticed that I didn't feel as bad afterwards. And so just a little tip for you, if you are still eating those things, no shame in that whatsoever. But if you pair it with some fat or some fiber or some protein, which nuts have all of those, then it would help you to not feel the symptoms, but it would, obviously it would help your blood sugar not to spike. So just a little tip for you. You will feel a lot better if you just skip the refined sugar desserts, but that's another topic. Also, one other thing that I learned from her is eating carbs at the end of the meal will significantly steady your blood sugar level. So let's say she had an example of she's eating like a rice bowl that had vegetables and it had like meats and it had rice to go with it. So she ate that, but then in another experiment, she ate everything but the rice first, and then she ate the rice afterwards, and it was significantly lower, the spike, after she had eaten. So that's something that, I'm definitely going to think more about. How can I just eat maybe the same food, just in a different order, perhaps? So just some tips for you, but I would highly recommend that you check her out. So let's talk about ways that you can support your cellular health as it pertains to blood sugar. And let me plug in my phone because it looks like it's about to die. Okay. How can we support healthy blood sugar with supplements and essential oils? So I'm going to talk about essential oils first and then supplements. Any questions you have, make sure you put them in the chat feature, and I'll be happy to answer them. So general healthy cellular uptake of blood sugar in the blood. Here are some essential oils that would be great for this in general. So cinnamon, turmeric, Slim and Sassy. Slim and Sassy is a blend that contains several of these components that really, if you wanted one, that would probably be my suggestion. And then there's also Digestin, which has fennel, that's really great for blood sugar control, and then copaiba. So all of these would be great for blood sugar, healthy blood sugar uptake. And a great little tip that I actually just shared on social media today is to make a healthy blood sugar brew, is what I'm calling it. So instead of, we're not really supposed to drink water with our meal because it dilutes our stomach acid. And so we need to really wait till after to drink anyway. So let's just make a little brew that we can drink afterwards. It's got some great taste to it, and it also will help your blood sugar not spike as high. So I'm going to make it right now. And there's different combinations that I'll share with you as well. But the first thing that goes in here is cinnamon. So cinnamon, if you've heard of nothing like holistic for blood sugar, you probably have heard that cinnamon is good for blood sugar. Cinnamon essential oil is especially good for blood sugar because it's at the potency that you need. You don't have to take 50 cinnamon pills to really see a result. So 1 drop of cinnamon. It's hard to get 1 drop sometimes. Okay, so 1 drop of cinnamon. And cinnamon has some natural sweetness, which I really love. And so it's kind of a great after meal drink as well because it does have that sweetness. And then 1 drop of grapefruit, which is awesome at helping your blood sugar remain stable, but it's also good to balance cortisol and to temper that response too. So if you put two drops, one drop of each in here, and then you kind of shake it up, and then you just sip on this. I really love the combination of these two in there because the cinnamon is a little sweet, and I love the crispness of the grapefruit. So try that if you have both of these. Other different things that you could put in your water afterwards would be Slim and Sassy. You could put that with grapefruit. You could do cinnamon and turmeric. You could put, any of these combinations. Copaiba you could put in your water. Some of these don't taste as good as others, so I really like the combination of the cinnamon and grapefruit. So drink that after your meal, and that will be a great way to get your sweet tooth a little bit satisfied, but also help your blood sugar. One more thing for sugar cravings in general, like if you're just craving something sweet, you're like, I'm really trying to do better, I'm going to encourage you to try this trick, but only if you you're ready for this. So cinnamon is pretty spicy, but I really love it. Like if you like red hots or, something really spicy like that, cinnamon flavored, then you're going to like this trick. So don't get a whole drop, because that will be too much. You're just going to rub your finger around the top of it, and then just put your finger right in the tip of your mouth and just kind of lick it off your finger. And it's really good. It's just enough, but it has some really strong natural sweetness, and it just kind of hits that sugar craving, and then this stuff is gone. This also helps for smoking cessation. That's one of the things that you can do to help with smoking. If you know somebody that still smokes, let them try that trick. All right, so on to kidney support. A lot of times when we have excess high blood sugar, it really affects our kidneys. So Zendocrine is a detoxification blend, and it really helps your kidneys to work better. So that would be a great thing to add in if you're really in tune with that, and maybe already have diabetes. That's a really great way that you can support your kidneys. And then also neuropathy is something that over time can really happen if your blood sugars are just high in general, and maybe you do have prediabetes or diabetes. So Aroma Touch is a massage blend that's really great to apply topically to your legs or wherever you might be feeling that neuropathy. It really helps a good bit. So also restless leg, Aroma Touch is great for. Okay, let's talk about stress, because stress was one of the things that we talked about that can really affect your blood sugar. So stress, favorite supplements, well, really oils for stress, would be Lavender Balance, Aroma Touch, Copaiba, and Adaptive. Again, you don't feel like you have to write this down. I'm going to have a blog post that has everything in here, plus some links that you might want. So anything that can help you with the stress response so that your cortisol doesn't get out of control and then your blood sugar doesn't spike. Any of these oils are great. My personal favorite is Adaptive. I love Adaptive. It's probably my number one favorite oil. So those are all really great. If you just tend to have stress because you feel depressed, possibly, some uplifting oils might be great. Citrus Bliss, Elevation, peppermint to kind of help wake you up. Also, frankincense under the tongue is a really great thing to do to help bring down stress. And to get into kind of a routine with some of these would be awesome. And just to have like a little daily routine that you follow to remember to do these things. Sometimes we just forget, and then we end up stressed, and we're like, forgot to do, the things that are going to help take the stress away. And then next with essential oils, kind of finally, is inflammation. So how can we support a healthy inflammatory response in our body? So the first would be Copaiba, and the second will be turmeric. Both of these are really, really great to help temper the inflammatory response in your body. So bonus points if you can take those with meals, because they're also going to help your blood sugar in that way as well. So they make a Copaiba soft gel, and then turmeric duo caps. Yes, I will post all of these recipes. Don't worry. They're going to be in a blog post on my site that should be up shortly. So those two things are really great to take for overall health, but definitely when we're thinking about inflammation as it pertains to the blood sugar. Okay, so last but not least is supplements. And so there are several different ones. For sake of time, I'm just going to go through some of the heavy hitters. And Lifelong Vitality, really, when I looked at all the different supplements that are great for blood sugar, the three components in Lifelong Vitality covered a large number of them, which is awesome. and I've worked with different supplement companies, and I've looked at different supplements, and there are some that are probably more specialized that doTERRA doesn't have. But as a whole, lifelong vitality that doTERRA offers is like the best, like all-in-one that I can tell you to go get. And it gives you most of what you need. And so it's a great place to start. The Microplex VMZ, which is like the multivitamin component of the lifelong vitality, it specifically has magnesium and chromium, which are great for blood sugar balance. So I'm going to talk about just the ones specifically that are good for blood sugar. The EX Omega is the omega component, and that fish oil, it's been shown in studies to decrease insulin sensitivity and just really promote a healthy blood sugar response, and also healthy inflammation, healthy heart. So that's something that we should all be taking, but this one specifically also has essential oils in it that help with inflammation, blood sugar, and stress. So frankincense, wild orange, and ginger, all of those are really good for those things that I mentioned. And then alpha CRS is the third component in lifelong vitality. And this one in particular is huge at helping your blood sugar, because it really helps support healthy inflammation in a really unique way. There's not really another supplement out there that's just like this. CoQ10 is one that was mentioned in blood sugar, for blood sugar balancing, and it's in the alpha CRS. And this is a vital part of your cell's energy producing powerhouse, and it's critical to help carb utilization. That's a really big thing when you think about blood sugar balance. It also has turmeric in it that I already mentioned. And lastly, it has alpha lipoic acid, which has been shown to stabilize blood sugar levels. So this will really help you so you don't get the munchies or get hungry a few hours after you eat. And it helps with carbohydrate utilization. And then last but not least is our digestive enzymes. They just help you to be able to assimilate your food better. And so that helps your blood sugar not spike as much. So digestive enzymes, lipase is actually in alpha CRS, but you get a bigger amount of it in digestive enzymes, which you can get those from different companies. I like Equilibrium Nutrition, and I also really like doTERRA's digestive enzyme Terrazone. So that is the information I have for you today for healthy blood sugar balance. I hope that you've learned just how we can be more in tune with our body and how we can really help in the whole picture in a holistic way. If you're just getting started, if you've never gotten started with doTERRA, I actually put together a little kit of things that I feel like are the most impactful in this area. It would include cinnamon and grapefruit, lifelong vitality, copaiba, and turmeric. These are 5 of the most highly impactful things that I can think of for really a lot of overall health, but definitely specifically blood sugar and stress and inflammation. And so you can message me for that link if you're like, I'm ready to get started right now. For sure, I will help you if you need help and you like, I want some of these things, but not others. I'll definitely help you with getting something that is perfect for you and where you're at. But all of these things are going to be in a blog post on my site, carriecutie.com. Within the hour, I'm going to get that up pretty soon. And so if you're looking for recipes or links or whatnot, it's all going to be in that blog post. And I just want to thank you for joining me. This is a different topic than I've ever done before, but I feel like I really want to look deeper into health as a whole and the different areas that we can really look at when we think of overall health and resiliency, and blood sugar is definitely one of those. So I think this is a continuing conversation, but I thank you for joining me for this workshop. If you know of anybody that really would like to dig in more to this subject and you think they would love this class, it will be easiest just to share the blog post with them. So like I said, that'll be up within the hour, carriecutie.com, and you can look at it under there. So thanks so much for joining me. I look forward to the next time that we meet. And if you need anything, if you have any questions, if you're watching the recording of this, you can always message me. You can email me, reach out however feels best for you, and I'd love to help you. All right, guys, I'll see you later. Bye, everyone.